Hello and welcome, I'm your Code Monkey. So recently on Twitter, someone pointed me to an interesting post. It's all about the notion of clean code and is that something that you need? Now I spent way too long writing a super big reply, so let's see what I said, since this is obviously a topic that I'm very passionate about. Clean code really is the reason why I can make complex games like my upcoming Steam game Dinky Guardians. It has tons of interconnected systems, tons of classes, events, interfaces, all of them working seamlessly with one another. I could not build this game without a focus on good clean code. Go ahead and add it to your Steam wishlist. So the original tweet, this says, early career people should take time to download and look at the leaked Far Cry source code. This is apparently something that just leaked. Someone just put the entire Far Cry source code onto the Internet Archive, I believe. So apparently early career people should look at that in order not to learn some new technical lessons, but rather to disabuse themselves of the notion of clean code. Then it goes on to say that the player class is 7,000 lines of code, that's definitely huge, with a zillion hidden state machines, and it did not prevent the game from spawning a billion-dollar franchise. And no, this isn't specific to game dev. I can assure you that almost every successful long-surviving codebase looks like that. So this is definitely a very interesting topic. And down here, plenty of people are actually agreeing with this sentiment. So one related not to programming, but rather to AAA 3D modeling, is to try to rip some models and see how apparently the game topology isn't super great. Then someone saying, yep, there is value in seeing what kind of junk actually ships games. Someone else saying, did they reuse it for Far Cry 2 or start from scratch? Saying Angry Birds was 50,000 lines of code, and so on. So this spawned quite a bit of discussion, and for me, the main thing really is that this tweet makes it seem like clean code is something that you shouldn't even worry about. At least that's my interpretation of this tweet. It kind of means how clean code is apparently unimportant, because even without it, technically you can make Far Cry, which is a super successful game, definitely a multi-billion-dollar franchise, and technically you can build that without focusing on clean code. And here is my super long tweet. Basically, I just find the original one to be a bit strange. Like I said, my interpretation is that it's saying how you shouldn't worry about clean code because technically you can find success with very bad code. And yep, can you make a successful game with the ugliest code possible? And the answer is, of course you can. Technically, you could eliminate all of the new lines, you could build Far Cry in a single line of code, you could intentionally obfuscate every single variable, you could give it just random names, you could write the entire thing in just a single class with an entire huge update loop. The compiler really doesn't care about any of it. The compiler just takes the code and makes the final executable. It does not care about any of this. However, if you try to do that, if you completely ignore every single clean code principle, chances are you will just drown in a mountain of technical debt before ever finishing your game. Now for me, I do get how some people can definitely be quite zealots when it comes to clean code. They follow the rules so rigidly that they completely forget the whole purpose behind those rules. The way I see it, clean code isn't really actually about rules, it's more just simple guidelines. And the ultimate goal is simply to help you produce better game or software. So I would definitely say, don't follow the rules so rigidly. Just focus on using them as guidelines. So I can get how some people take that too far, but then I think that going on the completely opposite side, that is also not very helpful. Completely devaluing all of those principles, that seems insane to me. At its core, clean code really isn't magic. It won't just magically make your game better or more successful. It's really just guiding principles meant to help you as a developer, meant to help you make your game. If you ignore all of those principles, that's fine. The compiler doesn't care. The code will run exactly the same, exactly as you write it. So the code won't compile, but it will affect you as a developer, and you will probably not actually finish your game. So should you obsess with writing the most absolute perfect code possible to the point where you're not even making progress, you're just focusing on writing good clean code and you don't even care about actually making the game? At that point, no, of course not. I think at that point you're kind of going against yourself. But on the other hand, should you completely disregard any and all clean code standards just because technically you can find success without worrying about it? And personally, no, I don't think that's wise. As with so many things, common sense is really the main thing. Don't obsess over writing perfect code. Your code does not have to be perfect. But at the same time, don't completely ignore it and live in a terrible code base. That will also not help you as a developer. Another example is actually Celeste, which sold millions of copies, super highly successful game. And that is another one where a few years ago, the developer actually shared the movement code. And that involves a massive 5,000 line player class in all its messy and mostly undocumented glory. So this is another thing that when they posted this, people did indeed point out how this isn't the best or cleanest code in the world. And once again, some people who are a bit way too intense about this topic, they took this as a way to say negative things about the game just because the code quality isn't supposedly perfect, and completely ignored the ultimate goal, which is the game came out and it was massively successful. So yep, some positive comments. This makes me feel better about my code. I know it can be embarrassing, but it's nice to see even the best devs can still write messy code. And yep, again, that is true. The ultimate goal is actually make your game, actually finish your game. Try to keep your code quality as high as possible, but the main goal is still just finishing the game. And this thread was 5 years ago, so there's a bunch of deleted posts. Someone saying, Jesus, what an if-else monster. So yeah, Celeste is an interesting example where it shows you how you can write bad code and you can find success. So that seems to sort of prove the original post. But thinking about it in that way makes me think of the maxim correlation is not causation. So the fact that Celeste sold millions of copies, that is not related to a massive 5,000 lines of code method. Rather, it found success because the developer is actually very skilled and managed to actually build a game despite having that much complexity. So in the end, your code absolutely does not need to be perfect. So if you're just getting started and you're concerned about the quality of your code, as long as you are making an effort to actually try to produce good code, I would say you're doing very well. The first goal is really it just has to work, but at the same time, the dirtier the code that you write, the harder it is to get it to actually work. So for me, the number one goal is complete the game, and a close second one is simply keep code quality as good as possible in order to actually make it easier on me to actually complete the game. In the end, basically my advice to you is focus on actually making your game. That's the number one goal, actually complete your game. And clean code is simply a set of guidelines, a set of principles to help you actually achieve that. So don't obsess over making the absolute perfect code, but at the same time don't completely ignore it to the point where you might actually never end up finishing your game. And if you want to learn more about clean code, I highly recommend you follow my free complete course. It's on making an interesting game, and throughout it I'm constantly emphasizing the value of writing good clean code. Or if you're a more advanced user, then check out my turn-based strategy course. Again, the only way to build a game as complex as that one is to focus on writing high-quality clean code, just like I teach in that course. Alright, hope that's useful. Check out these videos to learn some more. Thanks to these awesome Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.